In today's video, I'm going to teach you guys how to make a corset dress without lining. So I'm going to teach you guys how to draft the corset, how to cover your breast cup with your fabric, and also how to make those boning channels and then insert your boning, all of that good stuff. I'm going to teach you guys that. And also, this corset dress is not going to have any lining, so I'm going to show you guys how to make a corset dress without a lining and then still have a very neat result. If you want to see how to do this, then definitely keep on watching.
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there.
So this is the pattern paper I'm just going to use now. This is the measurements I'm going to use: bust 37, bust point 11, under bust 14, and shape 33. So these are the measurements we're working with. First of all, I'm just going ahead to draw a baseline. From that point, I'm just going to mark her bust points and her under bust, which is 11 and 14 respectively. I also mark the half length. Then I'm just going to have to extend those lines. And then from that baseline, I'm just marking the chest line, which is 8 inches. I just extended that line as well. Then I'm just going to have to label the different lines. So chest line, bust point, under bust, and half length line. Now I just divided her bust measurement by 4. I marked that point there. I also marked that point. So I marked the bust circumference divided by 4 on her chest line and her bust point line. Now I'm just dividing her shape measurements by 4, and I'm placing that and marking that on the under bust line and on the half length line as well. Now I'm just going to have to extend or to connect all those points. Now I divided her shoulder measurements by 2 and I marked that. Please note that I have 2 pattern papers and I'm just I placed the front piece on top of the back piece, and then the space you see is the zipper allowance. So I went ahead to add 1 inch allowance to all the measurements. I'm using a stretchy velvet fabric for this, that's why I added just 1 inch allowance. Now I'm just drawing a curved line to connect the allowance for the bust to the shoulder, half of the shoulder point I had marked earlier. Now I'm just marking ½ inches down from the chest line, and also I'm also marking ½ inch inward from the end or from the edge of the pattern paper. Now I placed my breast cup on the under bust line. Then I went ahead to just trace the outline of the breast cup. Now if you guys want me to make a corset tutorial where I actually draft the actual corset, let me know, where we don't use a breast cup, we just actually draft everything. Let me know. But for this tutorial, we're going to be using the breast cup. So I'm going to show you guys how to draft the corsets using the breast cup. Now I went ahead to mark ½ inch inward from that outline of the breast cup I had drawn. And then once I've done that, I went ahead to just cut both the front and the back pieces, the outline. I went ahead to cut both the front and the back pieces. Now I'm just going ahead to just cut along that line. Now I replicated the line where the corset top stops. I just replicated it at the back as well, and then I'm just connecting the lines together. I'm also going ahead to just cut that out. This dress is not going to have the corset loops at the back, so it's just going to have a regular zipper. So I'm going to cut 2 of the back piece while I'm going to cut the front piece on fold. That's what I indicated on the pattern paper. So now as you can see, I folded my fabric and I'm cutting the front piece on fold, and I'm also going to go ahead and cut 2 of the back pieces. Now once I've done that, this is what we have: 2 back pieces and the front piece. As you can see, this velvet fabric is stretchy. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut the skirt part of my dress. It's going to be a pencil dress at the end of the day, so we're going to cut a pencil skirt. So from the baseline, I'm marking 9 inches downwards since it's a dress. and then I'm marking the length of the dress, which is 21 inches. Just going to extend those lines. Now I'm just dividing her hip measurement, her shape measurement rather, by 4, and then I'm placing that and marking that point. Now because this is a stretchy fabric, I'm not adding any allowance to this. I also divided her hip measurements by 4, and I placed that on the hip line, and then I marked that point as well. No allowance added. Now I removed 3 inches from her hip measurement, or her hip circumference, divided that number I got by 4, and then I used that to mark the point on the hemline, or on the length of the dress. I'm just going to just cut along that line. It's best not to leave any allowance when you're making a stretchy fabric, because you want it to be fitted and tight on the person's body, so you don't need to add any allowance. You can just go ahead and shape it with about 1.5 inch seam allowance, and that would work fine. Now folding my fabric again, I'm just going to use the front piece to cut the back piece. I'm placing the front piece on top of the fabric, leaving a bit of zipper allowance there. Then I'm just cutting along the lines I had previously cut for the front. And I'm also going ahead to just cut that zipper allowance as well. There will be no slit on this dress because again it's stretchy, so there's really no point for that. So I'm just going ahead to just mark along that center back where I'm going to sew. Now to cover my breast cup, I'm just going ahead to just measure the fullest part of the breast cup, which gave me about 9.5 inches. I'm just going to approximate that to 9 inches. Now I'm going to take my fabric, fold it lengthwise and widthwise, like I was going to cut a flare. Now I'm marking 5.5. Now this 5.5 is half of 11 inches. Now remember that when I measured my breast cup, I got 10 inches. So I just added that 1 inch allowance, which made it 11 inches. So half of 11 inches is 5 inches. So that's why I marked 5 inches, when I was cutting this part. Now I'm just going to go ahead and get the center of that, and then once I open it up, I'm going to mark that point, that center, very well so I can see it. And then at the bottom part, I'm going to go in by 1 inch, and at the top part as well, I also go in by 1 inch. Then I'm going to go ahead and draw a line, or a straight line, from that 1 inch point to the center, and from that center to the other 1 inch point. And I'm going to go ahead and just cut along that line. Now once that's done, I'm just going to go ahead and cut my bone casing. I'm using the I don't know what to call this part, but it is part of the fabric, the edge of the fabric here, I would say. I'm using the edge of the fabric. It just has like a tape. It is a tape velvet, so I'm using that tape end of the fabric for my bone casing. Now this is what it looks like once I've covered the breast cup. This is one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I cover the breast cup. I'm going to do that for the other breast cup. Now you have the right side, which is the velvet side, and the wrong side, which is the dull side. Now for the front cover of the breast cup, I'm just placing the right side of the velvet to the right side of the velvet. So right side's facing, and then I'm just sewing that with half of an inch seam allowance. Now once we open that up, this is what we're going to have. We're going to have the velvet. The seam is going to be on the wrong side, so the allowance of the seam is going to be on the wrong side. Now for the back cover, you're going to place wrong sides facing. Okay, so that's the difference. For the back part, you're going to place the pieces wrong sides facing, and then the sewing is going to be done on the right side. I hope that makes sense. So it's just like an opposite. For the first one, we did right sides facing, and then for this second one, we're doing wrong sides facing. So as you can see, this is what it looks like. The seam allowance is now on the right side. Okay, now we're going to take our tailor's ham, place the piece on top of it, open the allowance, and just iron that flat. I have a tutorial on how to make a tailor's ham. The link will be in the description box down below, so you can learn how to make this ball I'm using to iron. It's very important. Use a tailor's ham for your corset and also for your princess dart bustier. Now I'm just going to go ahead and just place the piece that has the allowance seam on the wrong side. I'm just going to place that piece on the front of the breast cup, and then I'm just going to go ahead and just make sure that it's flat, and then I'm just going to pin it down. Okay, so this is the piece where the seam allowance is on the wrong side and the right side is actually clean. Okay, so I'm just going to place that on the breast cup and then just make sure that everything is nice and flat. Then I'm just going to go ahead and pin it. Now once I'm done pinning that, I'm going to turn it to the wrong side. Then I'm just going to sew the breast cup to the fabric all the way around. I'm using about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, very tiny. There's no point, sewing much of the breast cup to the fabric. There's really no point. So just make the allowance as tiny as you possibly can. Now once I'm done, this is what we have. I'm just going to go ahead and just trim out the excess all the way around. Once I'm done, this is what we have. As you can see, the front is nicely covered. Now I'm just going to place the wrong side of the other one on the right side of the breast cup. Just going ahead to just pin that just at the top. I'm just pinning the top alone. You know that your breast cup has the top side, which is a bit not as curved as the bottom part, which is a bit more round. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just placing that on the top, and then I'm just sewing it down. I'm taking out my pins, and then I'm just going ahead to just close that up. Bringing out the curve to the other side, I'm just going to go ahead and just pin that down. As you can see, the seam is inside for both pieces, and that is what you are going for. You want it to be clean all round. You don't want the seam allowance to be showing on either side. Now, if you have a lining, if you're using a lining for your to cover your corset along with your fabric, you just have to go ahead and use the lining to cover the back while you use the fabric to cover the front. But because I'm using the fabric to cover the front and the back, I'm doing it this way. I'm also going to just sew that down and then trim out the excess. And this is what we have. As you can see, guys, very neat, very clean, very easy to do. As you can see, everything is flat and smooth. So now these are the two pieces done. I'm just going to go ahead now and get the center point of this front piece. Just getting the center point by folding it. And I'm just going to go ahead and just mark that point down. Now placing that my boning case, I'm just going to go ahead and just sew that down. I did that for both pieces. Now I'm just going to fold my breast cup in half so I can get the center point as well. Placing that center point on the center point of the front piece, I'm just going to sew from the center to one end and from the center to the other end. And once that's done, this is what we have for one piece. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other piece, and this is what we have. Now I'm just going to go ahead and just insert my boning. I made sure to trim off the edges of the boning so that it's not too pointed or sharp. And then once I get the point where I want the boning to end, I go inside or I cut it shorter by 1/2 inch. I hope that makes sense. So once you get the length of the boning you want to use, you have to reduce it by 1/2 inch so that when you join it to the skirt part of your dress, your needle doesn't go on top of the boning and breaks it, because this is not the regular boning that you can sew on top, so you have to be careful about that one. Now this is what we have. Now taking our skirt part, I'm just going to go ahead and just join the center back of both back pieces. And this is what we have once we've joined the back pieces. Now the front piece, all I have to do is just notch the center so I know where to attach it to the front piece of my corset. Now I've gotten the center point of the front piece of my corset as well, and then I'm just going to go ahead and just sew from the center to one end and from the center to the other end. And once I'm done with that, this is what we have. I'm just going to go ahead and take that same piece of fabric I used for the bone casing to just sew on the skirt part as well. So it looks like one long line going from under the bust all the way to the hem of the dress. And once we're done with that, this is what the dress looks like, or this is what we have now. And I'm just going to go ahead and join the two back pieces of the bodice. And now just folding that up again, I'm just going to go ahead and just trim about 1/2 inch from the bottom part. What this would do is that it would remove that zipper bulge. It's a hack that you guys really need to learn, taking out that 1/2 inch from the center point there. Now I'm just going to go ahead and join the back piece of the bodice to the back piece of the skirt. And this is what we have once we've done that as well. Now placing the back piece on top of the front piece, I'm just going to go ahead and just join the sides. Now like I mentioned, I didn't leave any allowance when I was cutting this, so I'm just joining both pieces with 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides. Now what this will do is that it's going to make the dress very fitted on the client, which is what we are going for, since it's a stretchy fabric we're using and it's a bodycon dress. Now I'm just going to go ahead and just trim the center just a bit, because that's the style I'm going for. And then we're going to put in hanging sleeves. I have a tutorial on how I made this hanging leg of mutant sleeve, and this is what the final result is. Thank you guys so much for watching.